Why do we say Assalamu alaikum? I didn't say what that means. I didn't say what does it mean. I said, why do we say it? Anybody knows? Okay, close. There's a hadith related by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, who said that the Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that when Allah created Adam, he created him 60 cubits tall. Cubit is like from the end of your finger to your elbow, about 18 inches. So Adam was about 90 feet tall. And when he breathed into him from his spirit, he told Adam to go and greet this group of angels that were there. And greet them with peace. Salam. Assalamu alaikum. And listen for how they return your greeting. And so he went to them and he said, Assalamu alaikum. And they said, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. So this is the greeting of the people of paradise from one to another. And when someone greets you with Assalamu alaikum, you should greet them with something better. Okay? Alhamdulillah. This is the beauty of our deen. So we're going to get started here. And we're going to start with the Quran recitation. That will be done by Brother Tawfiq Al-Mansour. And I'm not sure what he's going to recite, but he'll tell you where he's reciting from. Brother Tawfiq, where are you?
He's right there. So have a seat.
Alhamdulillah.
Have a seat. Have a seat.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Inshallah, I'm going to recite from Surah Al-Baqarah today. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذ ابتلى إبراهيم ربه بكلمات فأتمهن قال إني جاعلك للناس إماما قال ومن ذريتي قال لا ينال عهد الظالمين وإذ جعلنا البيت مثابة للناس وأمنا واتخذوا من مقام إبراهيم مصلى وعهدنا إلى إبراهيم وإسماعيل أن طهر بيتي للطائفين والعاكفين والركع السجود وإذ قال إبراهيم رب اجعل هذا بلدا آمنا وارزق أهله من الثمرات من آمن منهم بالله واليوم الآخر قال ومن كفر فأمتعه قليلا ثم أضطره إلى عذاب النار وبئس المصير وإذ يرفع إبراهيم القواعد من البيت وإسماعيل ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم ربنا واجعلنا مسلمين لك ومن ذريتنا أمة مسلمة لك وأرنا مناسكنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم ربنا وابعث فيهم رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياتك ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة ويزكيهم إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم ومن يرغب عن ملة إبراهيم إلا من سفه نفسه ولقد اصطفيناه في الدنيا وإنه في الآخرة لمن الخاسرين إذ قال له ربه أسلم قال أسلمت لرب العالمين ووصى بها إبراهيم بنيه ويعقوب يا بني إن الله اصطفى لكم الدين فلا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون أم كنتم شهداء إذ حضر يعقوب الموت إذ قال لبنيه ما تعبد من بعدي قالوا نعبد إلهك وإله آبائك إبراهيم وإسماعيل وإسحاق إلها واحدا ونحن له مسلمون تلك أمة قد خلت لها ما كسبت ولكم ما كسبتم ولا تسألون عما كانوا يعملون صدق الله العظيم.
I neglected to mention that Brother Taufik is a soccer player, and he plays for the Total Football Academy. He had a game today, but he decided to forego the game and be here with us. So Islam is first. Islam is first. Let me ask you, anybody see my Super Bowl commercial?
Yes.
Alhamdulillah. Next on the program, we're going to have the Ethiopian coffee ceremony done by Sister Salimawit Sifu and Amatullah Sharif. This is done with going to be done with authentic Ethiopian coffee, and they're going to do the traditional ceremony. And if you're good, you might get a little something of it. All right. So here we go.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Salam Tanistere, and I'm Nacho, and it's Amatullah.
Salam alaikum.
Okay, inshallah, we'll be performing the traditional Ethiopian coffee ceremony for you all.
Testing. So coffee, better known as buna in Ethiopia, is a huge part of the Ethiopian culture. It is performed in a ceremony style with families, friends, and up to 3 times a day in some households. The coffee ceremony is a time-consuming process, and it's used as a way to bring people together, to socialize, and to show hospitality. The beans are first washed, then roasted until they're dark and oily. At this point, the beans are taken out for the guests to smell the beautiful aroma. The beans are then ground and added to a handmade pot called the jebna, and into small cups known as punjab. It is customary to stay 3 rounds for 3 rounds of coffee, with the first cup being the strongest and the last being the weakest. It is usually enjoyed plain, although you can add sugar or a pinch of salt, and sometimes an herb is called tenadam, which is added for an extra bit of flavor. Today you can find buna shops or coffee shops in almost every corner of Ethiopia, and Ethiopian coffee is exported across the world. It's also known as the birthplace of coffee in the world. So we will tell a story as Amatullah makes and roasts this coffee, and it is a fable or like a legend that she's going to explain to you guys about how coffee was first found in Ethiopia.
Alrighty, guys, we're having technical difficulties with the plane, but we'll try to get that started, inshallah.
As you say.
Okay, so we'll start with the story while we wait. So the story of how it needed her touch, you know. Yeah.
Oh, it's going to.
Oh, the air blew it out.
Do we have one of those?
There we go. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Alrighty. So this is what we're gonna do. So the story of how coffee was actually found begins in Ethiopia. So I don't know if many of you know, but bunna or coffee was found in Ethiopia. This occurred in maybe the 9th century, and this is the legend that is told. So as I'm talking, you'll see her roasting the coffee beans on the fire. She's going to roast these, and then they'll be ground and put into the jevna. But for now, so the story begins with an Ethiopian goat herder. And this goat herder one day was looking for his missing goats. So as he's looking for them, he finds them jumping and prancing around in the field. And he looks and he wonders, why are they so excited? So as they're jumping and prancing around, he notices that they are eating berries from a bush that he had never seen before. So he figured, if the berries can make them this happy and excited, well, let me try them. So he takes a handful of these berries and he eats them. And he notices that later on it made him feel invigorated and full of vitality, right? So he takes these berries and he takes them to some monks. And he says, look, this is what I have. This can help you. Because, monks used to stand and pray late at night. And he felt that it would give them energy. So he shares the beans with the monks. And there are two endings to this story. One of the endings is that the monk took them and he used them to stay up late for his nightly prayers. Another, which is how coffee is said to have been discovered, is that the monks disapproved of these berries because they felt that's evil. That's from the shaitan to be, what are these beans giving you? So they threw them into the fire. And as they threw these beans into the fire, they started to roast. And everyone around could smell these beans and they smelled beautiful. And the monks felt, wow, something evil could not smell this sweet. So they took the coffee beans and they then pounded them, grounded them, and added them to water. And they drank them. And they felt good. They were able to stay up and they felt, wow, this is a great thing. So that is how coffee beans are said to have been discovered. That is how coffee is said to have been made on accident the first time. From there, coffee was spread into Yemen by the monks and was used by the Sufi monks in Yemen to stay up late for their nightly prayers and rituals. So from Yemen, coffee was spread into Mecca and Medina and was used by the people there. And then it was spread all over until it reached Europe around the 1500s. So yes, coffee is not a European thing. It came from Africa. That is where it was found. And coffee beans were spread across the world and grown in other places. So that's something for you guys to know. So for now, the coffee beans take a while to roast. I don't know if you guys are going to do anything else while we're doing this, but once the coffee beans are roasted, we add the ground coffee to water, and we're going to do that now. Yeah. Oh, and we have some coffee prepared already for you, and they're going to be passing that around. Now, this is Ethiopian coffee. This is as legit as it's going to get, as original as it's going to get. The coffee beans are green. They're raw and unroasted. That's how real coffee looks. And these beans are then roasted until they're brown, dark, and oily. And that's when they're ready. Okay? That takes some time. That takes about 20 minutes, depending on how much coffee you have. So we're gonna start doing our traditional ceremony right now. Let's see. You're gonna start. So coffee will be going around to everyone right now. And as soon as so the coffee's going around right now. I just wanted to explain a little bit about what we are doing. So as coffee is prepared, you will have the woman who usually is preparing the coffee wearing a traditional coffee dress, is what you see us have on here. So we both are wearing traditional coffee dresses. These are usually worn in the house and during coffee ceremonies. And then coals are added to the fire. We burn incense during the ceremony. So you're getting two different aromas at one time. You'll get the beans and you'll get the frankincense, which is traditionally used. As well, there's popcorn. Coffee is usually served with plain popcorn as a snack, as well as hambashak, which is right here. This is a traditional bread that is made with black seed, and it's roasted into a circle that's decorated, and we just break it up and we have it here. So right now our bunna is cooking, and you'll see how we pour that and how the service goes. Okay, so you will see everyone walking around with, you'll see everyone walking around with cups. Like I said, the cups traditionally used for bunna are called pinjil, and they look like this. They're small, tiny coffee cups. And you can usually find these in the store. They call them demi-tasse, but these are referred to as pinjil. And they're used across the region in many Arab countries as well as East Africa. So you'll find these in Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia, Sudan, everywhere. They pretty much use them like this. In Senegal too. I learned something new. In Senegal too, you'll find this. What do you call them? Okay, so in Senegal, they call them kas. We have a new word here. Okay. So, like I said, in many parts of East Africa, the coffee ceremony is performed just like this. You can find the same ceremony performed in Eritrea, as well as Sudan. So in Eritrea, they refer to bunna as bun, and they do the same ceremony. Maybe they have different items, accessories. Everyone has their own way. This setup here is called a rakabot. A rakabot is just a box that is used to prepare the coffee on. Here, what I have is a fancy version. You see this a lot in Muslim households. They usually have the fancy version like this, but it just depends. But a rakabot is traditionally just a wood box, which the coffee is prepared in. In Ethiopia, they often add different herbs. They even add different plants to give it like a seasoning, and we call that kamem. Kamem is just basically a spice that is used to season. You can do either your bunna, your shai, which is your tea, or your food. Same difference. But also in Sudan, when they make bun, they also call it jabana, and they use cinnamon or sometimes ginger as well as they're roasting their beans. So our pot is almost done, and you'll see us pour the traditional cups of coffee in a moment. But coffee is a very important part of Ethiopian culture. You can find bunna shops almost on every corner in Ethiopia and around. Even some stores and shops, you can sit down and get a cup of coffee. Now, traditionally, coffee may be prepared with sugar. They even add a pinch of salt, some people. Some add kebe, which is a butter, a spiced Ethiopian butter that is used for the hair and many other things, for cooking and everything. So that we enjoy it here. Alhamdulillah, Sister Suad has provided a traditional burner, Somali burner. What is it called? It's a learning experience, you know. So. Okay, she doesn't know. Okay, we're gonna call it a monkey kasha. Okay, that's what we're gonna call it. Okay, so that's what it is. So right now, what you'll smell is the frankincense. This was provided by Sister Suad. This is from Somalia. Homegrown, she said, straight off of the tree. And if many of you did not know, frankincense is a sap that falls from a tree and it is just plucked off like that. So, alhamdulillah. Okay, so.
That was very
And there's plenty of bunna here on the side if you guys would like seconds. Usually we do 3 rounds. It's customary to do 3 rounds. If you come to my house and I make bunna for you and you get it back in the first, we have a problem. You have to sit down for the second and the third round, okay? The first round is the strongest, the last round is the weakest. But this is a chance for us to socialize and to congregate and to show hospitality, okay? So right now our bunna is done and this is how we traditionally pour it.
Every set. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. I think we better hold that second and third one till after the program is over. I noticed a big jump in activities here. People are starting to feel like those goats. People partying on their own right now. So we're gonna move on with the program. We're gonna have Sheikh Imam Dr. Jihad Safir, who's going to enlighten us on the black companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I'm going to ask you to, kind of sit on your coffee and pay attention and get this education. Sure.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, such a beautiful vibe. Such a beautiful vibe. Did you all enjoy the Ethiopian coffee? Yeah, Starbucks has nothing on that. My mind said when I go to Starbucks, that stuff is fake. Right? We just got the real thing right here. Alhamdulillah. There it goes. And they got some other issues. Sister Cheryl said they got some other issues. So that's not the real thing. So alhamdulillah, everyone feel it? Alhamdulillah. It's a beautiful program, and the program, the beauty comes out because of you all attending. Thank you all. Round of applause for each other for attending. Now, this is no khutbah, don't worry. I'm just going to be up here for a few minutes, okay? For a few minutes. On 3, we're going to do a little exercise, and this exercise is called shh. Okay, 1, 2, 3. MashaAllah, y'all feel that? Don't say anything. Alhamdulillah. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, around him, I'm going to open up with a statement that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that's attributed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, "Bu'ithtu ila al-ahmar wal-aswad." He says, I was sent to the red and the black. I was sent to the red and the black. And this gives us a small lens into the community during that particular time. How they may have seen what we would term race. It's a different concept. For example, red was considered white, okay? Red was considered white people. We would consider white people, okay? So don't always see with our lens, which is a very racialized lens that sees in black and white, that wasn't necessarily the same lens in regards to the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I want us to know about a few individuals. The first individual, just to give us a peek into this community, is Antara ibn Shaddad. Everybody say Antara. Everybody say Antara. Antara was the son of Shaddad. Shaddad had high status amongst his tribe. And Shaddad, he had a child with a servant, an Ethiopian servant, and the product of that child was Antara. Shaddad would not recognize Antara as his son because of his status. He did not want to recognize that he had a dark-skinned son that was not completely Arab. But Antara, he rose because of his poetry. He was known for his poems, and as a matter of fact, his poems were featured on what is called the Mu'allaqat, the poetry on the Kaaba, okay? And he was also known for his skills on the battlefield. And when he was known for his poetry, he became known for his poetry and all the skills on the battlefield. Now his daddy want to claim him. Now Shaddad said, this is my son. This is Antara. Moving on, a product from that, moving on, is that around the Prophet, he had beautiful black women. Round of applause for our beautiful black women. Everyone say, Duwayba. Duwayba. Do not forget that name. Duwayba, she was a black woman, a servant of Abu Lahab. She delivered the beautiful news that the Prophet ﷺ had been born. Abu Lahab, because of this, freed her. After the mother of the Prophet ﷺ, she was the first to nurse the Prophet ﷺ. Duwayba, don't forget that name, Duwayba. Now, do we know about Ayman? Ayman. If you all know about her, what is her name? What is her actual name? You say the first name? Baraka, right? Bint Thalaba. So, Ayman, she was always around the Prophet ﷺ. He called her his mother. He called her mother. She was there during the major battles. She was one of the 20 women actually fighting in Khaybar, and she would tend to those who were harmed. Also, we have from the men's side, we gotta mention one more name. Everybody say Mihjan. Mihjan. Mihjan, she would clean the masjid, and when she passed away, the Prophet ﷺ was concerned, and he went and prayed upon her. Salatul Janazah. Mihjan. Don't forget that name. Now, who knows about Usama ibn Zayd? Everybody say Usama. Usama. Usama ibn Zayd is the son of Ayman. We know about Ayman, the son of Ayman. Usama ibn Zayd at 10 years old came out for the battle of Badr. His sword bigger than him. The Prophet ﷺ said, you have to go away. And he was weeping. He couldn't fight alongside the soldiers. When he turned 11, he came out during the battle of Uhud. His sword is still bigger than him. That's only a year later. And again, the Prophet ﷺ shooed him away. And then he came out during the battle of Ahzab on his tippy toes, pretending like he was the same height as the other soldiers. He was finally given his opportunity to fight. During the battle of Hunayn, he was one of the few. Many of the Muslims ran away from the battlefield, not Usama ibn Zayd. He was one of the few hanging in there, standing on the side of the Prophet ﷺ. Don't forget about Usama ibn Zayd. A few of the honorable mentions are Mihjan, who was the first martyr in the battle of Badr, and then also Salim, who was known for his recitation of Quran. Salim, known for his recitation of Quran. So alhamdulillah, we have always been present, and black was beautiful then and it remains beautiful. Amen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
Go ahead.
I can go on and on.
Let's go to that one.
Okay. Can you do justice to it?
Yeah.
Okay. But we know Bilal Rabah, right? We know Bilal Rabah. You know they're looking at me with the timing thing. That's
It's on me.
it's on him. Y'all see, that's not my fault.
Yeah.
You know, Imam's a long-winded. I'm not trying to be long-winded up here. Okay. So we know about Bilal Rabah, right? Some of y'all used to be Bilalians. Y'all know about Bilal Rabah. So of course, Bilal Rabah, of course, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, just quickly, he was a participator and he contributed to his freedom. And Bilal Rabah, we know the story of his famous word. What was his famous word while he was being beaten and dragged through the street? Ahad. 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 Everybody say Ahad. Ahad. Really representing representing that I'm being beaten at this time, I'm being tortured at this particular moment. But it's not about me, it's always about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whenever we go through Ahad, Bilal was the contributor in regards to the muezzin, the first muezzin in the deen. And when we hear as-salatu khayrun min an-nawm, that prayer is better than sleep, this is Bilal ibn Rabah. This is Bilal ibn Rabah. So when we talk about being woke, which is an old term by now, the real being woke is realizing that prayer is better than sleep. Assalamu alaikum.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Just another quick story about Bilal. A man, made a racial slur to him. And Bilal went and told the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Prophet came to the man and said, "You still have a lot of jahiliyyah in you." And the man was so embarrassed, he put his face on the ground and he told Bilal, "Put your foot on my head." And Bilal said, "No." So this is the talent, this is the beauty of Islam.
Yes.
You know, that this man who was formerly a slave would not take revenge on someone who insulted him. So alhamdulillah, we can learn a lot from that.
Who was also a black man too.
Who was also a black man. We gotta get the shade to give us the class on this. Inshallah. All right, so moving on. The next thing we have is a mother and daughter set up here. We have Sister Suad Lulay and her daughter Nusayba Al-Mansour, and Sister Suad is going to give us a story from the continent of Africa, and her daughter Nusayba is going to give us a poem entitled Black Queen. All right, sisters, are you ready?
Yes.
Give him a drum beat. All right. And the sisters have been very instrumental in putting all of this together, so.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والقانتين والقانتات والصادقين والصادقات والصابرين والصابرات والخاشعين والخاشعات والمتصدقين والمتصدقات والصائمين والصائمات والحافظين فروجهم والحافظات والذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرات أعد الله لهم مغفرة وأجرا عظيما. صدق الله العظيم. Alhamdulillah. So I wanted to share with you a story, but we really don't have a lot of time, so I'll cut it real short. It's a nomadic story by a young lady named Aisha that lived in the deserts of East Africa. She was the oldest of 5 children. At very young age, before she turned 11, her mother passed away. In the desert nomadic lifestyle, the role of the men and the women is very specific. So the men's role is taking care of the camels, being a shepherd, protecting their animals at night from predators, and also traveling to the city every 45 days to get food to feed their animals. To feed their families. So Aisha's mother passed away right before her 11th birthday. So now that responsibility of her mother fell on her shoulders. Aisha had to fetch water for her family at a very young age. So she traveled a couple of days
to get the water. And when she got to the location that she was supposed to get the water, the well was completely dry. And she had to travel back again. The whole process took about 4 days. She had no water, she had no food, and she was responsible for another 10-year-old girl that was with her, and 8 camels on her own at the age of 11. That story that I just told you is not a fairy tale. It is not an imaginary story. Asha is my mother. Okay? And she got married at 17 and moved to the big city and gave birth to 11 children. Recently, my family and I traveled to East Africa and the Middle East, and my daughter asked my mother to tell her story about herself that she did not know. And my mother shared that story, and we were both inspired. And my daughter, who's right here, Nusaiba, 14 years old, wrote a poem based on Daddy's story. So here she goes.
Bismillah. Black girl was born into the scarred world. Its home of thorn seeks to stab her in her hard core, but she is hardcore. Her heart trembles, yet she strives forward. Amongst all her adversity, she only cries to her Lord. She's full of pain, yet you always hear her roar. She's beautiful as an aurora. And though society may deem her as shamed and angry, she is a black queen. Because for those of us that can see, know she is seen, and for those of us that can hear, know she is believed. Her grace and her majesty has been decreed from Hadr to Belize. She's learned from those before her so she doesn't tremble to her knees. She stands firm on her 2 feet, her shoulders back, head high, cocoa skin, smile wide. Her radiance spreads beyond the seas. She's glowing in you and in me. So know that you're beautiful, know that you're courageous, know that you carry with you the power of this deen. Know you're all black queens.
Come on now. I also want to tell you a brief story about her name. She's named after one of the companions of the Prophet, Nusayba bint Ka'b. Nusayba bint Ka'b was a warrior. She was someone who fought battles. She was someone who, when the Prophet ﷺ gave the men a very specific direction, which is to stand on top of the mountain and to remain there. As soon as they thought they won the war, the men came down. And Khalid bin Walid, who has never lost a war, who was a Kafir at the time, attacked them from behind, and the Muslims lost that war. And Nusayba bint Ka'ab defended the Prophet, used her body as a shield, and took 12 shots. Also, the ayat that we're reciting for you, she came to the Prophet ﷺ and she said, Ya Rasulullah, it seems like the Quran is very male-oriented. It's a lot of adjectives and proverbs that is used to describe men. How come it's not communicated to the women? And the Prophet did not respond, but Allah heard her cries and he revealed that ayah, which is very gender-oriented. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, it's a shame how these Muslims oppress these women, man. Okay, moving on. We have Dr. Raul. Myself, Rasul. I spelled it wrong on my thing. That's why I said my mind. Dr. Rasul. And Dr. Rasul is going to speak to us about Sheikh Ibrahim Niasse. Okay, and Dr. Rasul is a professor of history and African studies at Irvine University. Very smart man.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدر المقدار العظيم. So, you see this picture here, the one on the far right? It'll come back. That's the story. That's the man I want to tell you about today. His name is Sheikh Ibrahim Niass. Say Sheikh Ibrahim Niass. May Allah be pleased with him. So, it says I'm going to tell you a story about Sheikh Ibrahim Niass, but I really want to tell you a story about someone else. But in order to tell you that story, I have to tell you about Sheikh Ibrahim Niass. Now, Sheikh Ibrahim Niass was one of the many scholars from the long line of great scholars from the African continent, from West Africa. He was born in Senegal in the year 1900. Mashallah. And his father was a big sheikh as well, named Sheikh Abdullah Niass. Sheikh Abdullah? Yes. Alhamdulillah. And Sheikh Abdullah Niass was a mujahid who fought physical war, jihad al-kabir, against the French. He fought the jihad against himself, and he fought the jihad against the French. And he fought, but the story is not even about Sheikh Abdullah Niass. May Allah be pleased with him. And he fought with a man named Maba Jakuba. Say Maba Jakuba. You all know this. Big mujahid. Sheikh Abdullah Niass fought with him against the French. And then when he felt that the jihad was starting to be more political than for creating a space for the Muslims to be Muslim, he said, okay, alhamdulillah, it's time for me to go set up my village. And we have our masjid, our school, our farm. And he raised Sheikh Ibrahim Niass. And Sheikh Ibrahim Niass studied with the people in his village. He learned Quran, he learned Hadith, he learned Arabic, he learned Tasawwuf, he learned all the sciences. Get to be a big scholar. They sent him to Mauritania. They sent him to Morocco. They sent him all these places, and the big ulama, they impressed with him, right? They give him the big ijazah. He go to Egypt, to Azhar University. And he give them his book he write called Kashf al-Albas. Say Kashf al-Albas. I'm biting from my Imam Just make you retain it, inshallah. And he give the book to the ulama at Azhar, and they say, did you study here? He said, no, I studied with my father and I studied in my village. They give him the title Sheikh al-Islam for Afriqiyya. They say, you Sheikh al-Islam for Africa, right? This is how impressed they are. And he go back to Senegal, and finally he established his city. It's a city that's still there today. It's called Medina Bay. Medina Bay, the city of Bay, in Kaolack, in a place in Senegal called Kaolack. So he set up this village, and it's dedicated to ibadah, to remember Allah Ta'ala, and to knowledge, to ilm. And Sheikh Ibrahim, a real quick tangent, Sheikh Ibrahim was such a renowned scholar that nearby in Mauritania, where you have the issue where some of the Mauritanian people that have lighter skin were fighting a war and enslaving the people in Senegal on the other side of the border, and in Mauritania who have darker skin. But some of these same people, when they see Sheikh Ibrahim, they submit. They say, we have to submit to the village. But Sheikh Ibrahim had many sons. He sent them to go, I have to look at the time. He sent them to go to school and get educated, right? And in West Africa, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong, oftentimes when a big sheikh comes, he teach all his sons, and the oldest son, he's been learning the longest, so he's the sheikh, right? Makes sense. Sheikh Ibrahim didn't make any of his sons his khalifa, his successor. He had a student named Sidi Aliou Sisi. Say Sidi Aliou Sisi. Or Sisi. Sisi. Imam Aliou Sisi. May Allah be pleased with him. And he don't give the Khalifa to any of his sons, to give it to him, because Sheikh Ibrahim, we have another book that said, knowledge is the leader. So the one who has the most knowledge and the best character, that's the leader, right? But the story is not about see how you see. May Allah be pleased with him. So he made him his successor. He said, this is my successor, this is my Khalifa. And Sheikh Ibrahim had many daughters. He educated all his daughters. One of his daughters, Sayyidah Maryam Niass, may Allah be pleased with her. She just passed away recently. She returned to Allah. She had one of the biggest Quran schools in Senegal, in Dakar. They say when she passed away, she was maybe one of the biggest scholars of Quran in the world, man or woman. But the story's not about her either. She even have another son. Say another daughter. Say the Ruqayya Nias. Say Ruqayya Nias. She the first woman to publish a book in Arabic in Senegal. She is a scholar. She writes books on Islam. The story's not about her either. He have another daughter, his oldest child. Her name is Sayyidah Fatima Zahra Nias. Alhamdulillah. And Sheikh Ibrahim said her spiritual rank was so high that if she was the man, she would make him man of everybody, the men and the women. But the story's not about her either. Sayyidah Fatima Zahra Nias married Sidi Ali. So Fatima married Ali. And they had a son named Hassan. May Allah be pleased with him. And when Hassan Sisi was a little boy, he was in the class and his Arabic teacher asked him, he said, who's gonna go to America and get our people? Get our brothers and sisters. I didn't tell you this about Sheikh Ibrahim, he was a Pan-African. Maybe the biggest scholar of West Africa, renowned around the world, but he was close to Kwame Nkrumah. He told the people every day after you make your salam, they can make dua for Kwame Nkrumah. Right? So, Hassan Sisi, I say Hassan Sisi because now he's a little boy, right? When he's in the Arabic class, his Arabic teacher asked him, who's gonna go to America and get my people there, get our people there, right? He said, if I knew English, I'd go get them, but I don't know English. One little boy, subhanAllah, raised his hand, and that's Hassan Sisi. And when he raised his hand, the other students, they laughed at him. When Hassan got older, they sent him to Egypt after he studied in Medina Bay. And in Egypt, his Arabic was so good, his teachers in Egypt told the Egyptian students that you should try to be able to speak Arabic as good as Hassan. He's not even an Arab, and he speaks your language better than you, better than many of you, right? When Hassan, and now he's Sheikh Hassan, may Allah be pleased with him. When he get older, he finished studying in Egypt, and he gets a job in Libya, well-paying job, good-paying job. And he asked his grandfather, Sheikh Ibrahim, his mother's father, he said, what should I do? Sheikh Ibrahim said, if you take the job, it's good, but if you want to know what I want you to do, I want you to go to England and learn English. So he go to the University of London, the prestigious School of Oriental and African Studies, SOAS, and he get a master's degree in English literature. And then he comes to America in the 1970s, 76, I believe. They say 75 or 76. And in America, he spends time in New York, in Chicago, in Detroit, in Cleveland, in Atlanta, and there he's hanging around the African-American Muslim people. He's learning about Malcolm X, Al-Hajj Malik Shabazz, Rahmatullah alayhi. He heard James Brown say, I'm black and I'm proud. He said, it's good. Let me hear this one. He hear John Coltrane, and they tell him, John Coltrane, we heard he's Muslim. He said, you listen to his music, he sound like he know Allah. He spent time here with these people. And then, with some of his American students, like one of our mothers who's still here, Al-Hajja Kareem Abdul Kareem, he builds a school in Senegal, in Medina. And also one of his strong supporters in America, Imam Saeed Abdul Salam, may Allah be pleased with him, and many others from these places, New York, Detroit, and whatnot. And he built a school. And the woman Hajja Karima, she moved to Senegal to be like the mother for all of the American students who study in this school. And the first person to memorize Quran from this school, he's my friend. His name is Ahmed Sufi. And the second person to memorize Quran from this school, maybe I think the next day or the next week, is Hajja Karima Abdul Kareem's daughter, Amina Karima. And she, as far as we know, is the first woman from America to ever memorize the whole Quran. And from there, hundreds of students from America, and now from London, African American, Afro-Caribbean, go to this school. They learn Quran, they learn Arabic, they learn Wolof, they fluent in Wolof. They still going back now. They still sending their kids there now. And so the story I want to tell you really is about Sheikh Imam Hassan Sise. May Allah be pleased with him. He returned to Allah in 2008. And his African-American Marids, his African-American students, who reconnected. Like you see the picture, some of you remember the old Muhammad Speaks newspaper. You see the two hands crossing across the Atlantic. They remade the connection. So when people tell you that the connection between us here, who were born here, and our brothers and sisters on the other side of the Atlantic has been severed, you know we brought it back together.
Thank you, Dr. Rasul, for that interesting lesson. Moving on, we have a qasida. A qasida is like a song or a poem, and it's going to be done with my sister Nicolette Nasara Refusero. Did I get that right? Refusero?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراط المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره الدارين. Assalamu alaikum everyone. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to read the qasida of Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba. And I want to share something that my Sheikh shared with us, Sheikh Alinda Radiallahu. He returned to Allah 17th of Rajab. So it's been a year. So the Sheikh said that, my Sheikh Alinda said that a man came to Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba and asked the Sheikh a question. He said, what is better than the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba said, prayer. And the man said, why prayer? Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba said, prayer is the best recommendation. And the man said, what is better than prayer? Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba said, eating. Eating is better than prayer because you cannot pray if you don't eat. And what is better than eating? The man said. And Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba said, peace. You cannot eat or pray if you are not in peace. And trust me, I've witnessed that. Couldn't eat or pray if you're not in peace. So, Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba is a man of peace. There's so much to say about Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, but I just want to share what really resonated to me. And he's a man of peace. He went through over 200 plot assassination, exile, and house arrest by the French, and did not take up arms. He is known to be a saint in Senegal, but people know him as Serigne Touba. He didn't see himself as a prisoner either of the French. Instead, the Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, it was the very thing that the Sheikh asked for. The Sheikh asked Allah for a certain station that it required for him to go through these trials, to undergo these trials. And the request was to be Khadim Rasul. For him to be Khadim Rasul, he had to undergo all those trials, and he happily accepted. These are the things that my Sheikh shared with me. I'm not a scholar. I'm just, I'm not a scholar. I don't have any titles, but it's something that my Sheikh shared that I want to share with you all. This qasida It's called Ya Rabbi Bil Mustafa. This is Sindhi. Oh, this is no, it's Ya Rabbi. I'm doing Ya Rabbi Bil Mustafa. You were told Sindhi. Oh, okay. See, I don't know. Maybe you can help me, but yeah, it's called Sindhi though. Okay. So so this is called Ya Rabbi Bil Mustafa, and there's a backstory to this poem. It's a very short poem, but in Mauritania, Sheikh Ahmed Bamba used to stay with a nomadic tribe. He would move through the land with them. One day, Sheikh Sidia, a spiritual leader of the tribe, moved away with the tribe, but Sheikh Ahmed Bamba stayed behind. People asked him why he did not follow Sheikh Sidia, and he said that he did not have a sheikh. After a while, Sheikh Sidia and his friends returned and told Sheikh Amadou Bamba that there was an epidemic afflicting the area where the tribe had migrated to. And so Sheikh Amadou Bamba said the opening introductory words to this poem. Know that all of Sheikh Amadou Bamba's poems and writings are prayers that Allah has accepted. So you can say Ameen to them. Would you like to should I say it in English first or just go to Arabic? Do I have time?
Arabic.
Just go straight to Arabic. Okay. So I just go ahead. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa alaykum as-salamu wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Fatamun hadhihi shata shifa'an min kulli dan wa hisnan wa siman min mima qalbi jami' al-ahdai. Ya Rabbi bil Mustafa Muqtarini Mudari Shafi'i Ummati fil Badwi wa Hadari Ya Rabbi bil Mustafa Muqtarini Mudari Shafi'i Ummati fil Badwi wa Hadari Alaihi salli bi taslimin bila adadin Alaihi salli bi taslimin ila adadin fil ali wa sabi wa sinna min adorari ya Rabbi bil Mustafa Muqtarini Mudari Shafi'i Ummati fil badwi wal hadari ya Rabbi bil Mustafa Muqtarini Mudari Shafi'i Ummati fi badwi wal hadari Ummata Mustafa amma yaduru lahum أمة المصطفى أما يدور لهم سمع البدات وسمع من الشرار يا ربي بالمصطفى مختارين مدار شفيع أمتي في البدو والأدار يا ربي بالمصطفى مختارين مدار شفيع أمتي في البر والهدى واصرف غيرهم الشيطان في أبدي واصرف غيرهم الشيطان في أبد وتكفيهم كل ما يستوي من البشر يا ربي بالمصطفى مختارين مدار شفيع أمتي في البدو والأدار يا ربي بالمصطفى مختارين مدار شفيع أمتي في البدو والأدار واستغفرنا أرض الجميع به وتصرفي أمر الجميع به واصرف لهم موجبات الأمن والبشار يا ربي بالمصطفى مختارين مدار شفيع أمته في البر والهدار يا ربي بالمصطفى مختارين مدار الشفيع أمته في الغد والهدار واجعل قلوب ذوي الإسلام في أمان واجعل قلوب ذوي الإسلام في أمان وتكفيهم كل ما يفضي إلى النار يا ربي بالمصطفى مختارين مدار شفيع أمتي بالغد والهدار يا ربي بالمصطفى مختارين مدار شفيع أمتي في الغد والهدار والصليدا بتسليم عليه بما والصليدا بتسليم عليه بمن لهم تمر وتاج بصفي ودولار يا ربي بالمصطفى مختارين مدار شفيع أمته في الغد والهدار يا ربي بالمصطفى مختارين مدار شفيع أمته في الغد والهدار آمين آمين
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, sister. I've been asked to mention our sponsors. Sponsors are always important because they, help bring things together. Muslim Art, they have a photo booth inside, so take your children, take your husband, wife, family, go get a funny photo and remember this day from it. The other sponsor is the Ilm Foundation, which has been around for quite a while and done so much work in our community. We thank the organizers of that. And Allahu Akbar, yes. We thank Allah for his rahmah to this community. And Sheikh Ahmed Bamba, for those who don't know, he was born in 1853. He died in 1927. He was born in Senegal. He's the great Sheikh and Sufi of that country and of the world. So moving on, we're going to hear from Brother Omar Regan, and he's going to tell us about Imam Luqman and Imam Jamil, who were leaders of the Dar Islam movement from the East Coast.
Alhamdulillah, shukran, thank you, Sheikh J.D. Hall. Okay, bismillah. I'm looking at somebody with a timer. Because I'm saying that to be respectful, because I know Margaret was going to come in. But I got so inspired about just doing the research too on where I come from. Sometimes, we just be living. But I'm grateful to talk about Imam Luqman, which is my father, alhamdulillah. And he was killed in 2009 by some rogue FBI agents who wanted to, do what they do and say he wanted to establish Sharia in America. So he was shot 20 times and lied on the news that we have been fighting for a long time. His friend, Imam Jamil, has also been in prison for something that he didn't do for over 20 years. Talking about these two, where did they come from? Both of them was inspired to convert to Islam through the Dar Islam movement. The Dar Islam movement, is reports that it was started in 1924. 1924, Sunni Muslims in New York, they branched away from a masjid by the name of organization by the name of Islamic Mission of America, New York. They were also a State Street Masjid. And so this one sheikh named Sheikh Dawood Faisal, who was a jazz player, they had all one community in 1924. And then, as you know, there was a split that happened. Now, I'm paraphrasing, I'm jumping, right? Because time. 1936, they branch away. They start a new movement as usual. It happens. 1962, Dar Islam movement is thriving. They are all over the East Coast. They're in Detroit as usual. Detroit is always in the mix. Detroit, New York is the grounds, was the base for the Dar Islam movement. Now in Detroit, I'm grateful that my father, he was inspired. And what inspired my father to convert to Islam was the Dar Islam movement. As Black people, he saw them being progressive. They had their own communities. It was extremely important for to establish a place of prayer and to move around this place. And so then you had families. It was also like back in those days, the African American Muslims, they understood the Quran and they held it to the T. They understood it a lot literally. And that meant that, listen, we are servants for the people. So in those times, do you understand there was no such thing as a single mom taking care of kids on their own? That was not happening. In this time, what made the communities grow was they understood that it's the men's obligation to work and take care of the women. And it was the sisters that was holding down the fort. It worked as a team, which that's what my mother attracted my mother. I'm happy she's here, right? She's back, right? She was doing work today, so she was like, I didn't dress for this. But it attracted, the way that the community moved, it attracted my mother to convert to Islam. And alhamdulillah, I'm a product of that conversion because what they understood was the brothers was, all the brothers, not to say all of them, most of the brothers all had more than one wife and the communities built. They always taking care of families. But in the mindset of the children needed fathers. So I was a product of that. Well, my mother, she married Imam Luqman when she was just Luqman. And she was his second wife. I didn't have the guy that, he disappeared on my mom and she didn't know where he was. And so she was fending with 3 children by herself. And alhamdulillah, she was searching and searching. So I'm grateful for what she did. She married a man, even though, technically, even though, that's his second wife if we was doing numbers, but that's not what was happening in those times. That I grew up with a father. Now, my brother, I grew up, it was a blended family. How much time? Okay, 1 minute. The Imam of the Dar Islam movement, it happens to be my brother's uncle. His name is Imam Musa. So he was in charge of the Dar Islam movement there in Detroit. Bringing me back now, I'm grateful for this. Imam Jamil converted to Islam, but he was in prison from 1972 to 1976, and it was the Dar Islam movement that was doing dawah in the prison, and Imam Jamil took shahada based upon those dawahs from the Dar Islam movement. And then alhamdulillah, when he got out, he moved to Atlanta, and then he said he wanted to be a part of the Dar Islam movement. Dar Islam movement was got targeted, of course, by rogue FBI agents, and then they have a long story. I can't cover it all because I'm running out of time. But they broke it up. A lot of brothers was killed, and so this made everybody split. Imam Jamil became Imam Jamil in Atlanta. My father became Imam Luqman in Detroit. And then we started growing community the same way that they started the Dar Islam movement. And then alhamdulillah, I grew up into that. And the principles was that you be responsible for yourself. There's an order that has to happen. Then you have a leader, and that leader, that Imam, has an Amir in charge when the Imam is there, not there, and that Amir has an Amir. And that Amir has an Amir. And as young men, we were trained, we had to learn and be prepared to die as defense because we were being attacked by, all kinds of interesting things inside of the neighborhood, drug dealers, and people didn't want righteousness around. We had funny clothes on, so we was an easy target. 30 seconds. And so, and this is where I grew up and witnessed those attacks. We learned how to fight. We learned how to, everything was all on defense. We learned how to shoot. We learned kung fu. We learned knives. We learned everything. We learned self-discipline. And we had to be it was for us to know that you may be the next leader. Everyone had to pay attention. And as a youngster, I grew up witnessing attacks when the guy was driving down and he started shooting because they didn't like us saying no to the drug dealers. They were shooting at the Muslims as we stood outside of like a storefront, and we didn't know what was happening. Like, and all of a sudden it was like, and the bullets was flying. I'm witnessing it. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But I'm also witnessing the brothers on defense that also had their weapons to shoot back. Right? Alhamdulillah. I also witnessed the police pulling down the speaker for the adhan, just growing up and understanding, like, we really did live that you could die tomorrow and you may be the imam. So you had to learn Quran. You had to learn Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You had to hold on to these principles. You had to make sure that you took care of family, but you had to be disciplined with this side of yourself, knowing that Allah is watching you. And so these were the principles, just very short, of what the Darul Islam movement was, how they was teaching, how you had to work, how you had to be provider, and how you had to have self-discipline. And alhamdulillah, it was order. It was order. So nobody just jumped up, come to the mosque, did anything that they wanted to do. They knew someone was in charge. And the most important thing is we had 24/7 security inside. The sisters felt safe. The children felt safe. I mean, minus the attacks when it would happen, but you would be excited to know that, okay, if we're fighting, we're fighting. But it was so much love, and I grew up in it, alhamdulillah, and I love it, and I'm connected with it to this day. And Imam Asim, he just passed away, and Allah have mercy on him. Is another brother. He went to 90. You never know about this. This man was 94 years old. Allah bless him. His name was Wali Akram, with the first masjid in Cleveland, right? And it's just a lot of history. But for the sake of time, I can share right now. May Allah have mercy on Imam Luqman. Forgive him for his sins. Strengthen him, my father. Alhamdulillah. And then may Allah have mercy on Imam Jamil and free him. Alhamdulillah. And have mercy on all of our brothers who did the best that they could. And may Allah bless us to continue to do good works for the community. Shukran. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Brother Omar, for reminding us Islam in America is old. It's even older than that. It goes back to slaves' times and so forth. Continuing on, we have Sister Abrafi Saika, and she is going to give us the story of California. Sister Abrafi.
Assalamu alaikum. Happy Black History Month. And I know I have a short time to be here, but I have to take a short moment to thank every one of the sisters and brothers that put this performance together this afternoon. It is marvelous. Thank you so much. I know everybody can't see this, but it's a book that I put together, and it is a gift to the children, the students, the luminaries of Isla LA. So when I'm finished with this, I will leave it here for the students, and I hope that you'll enjoy it and learn some more things from it. This lady is Califia. How many of you have heard of Califia before? Okay, we're gonna have some fun. How many of you have heard of California before? It's getting better. California is named for a Black woman. She was Califia, and I'm going to tell you her story today. And please help me with the time if I get a little bit off, because I know we're running late. First thing I want to mention to you is if you go to San Francisco, if you go to the very expensive Mark Hopkins Hotel in San Francisco, and you go to the room of the Dons, you will see a huge mural on the wall, and that is what you're seeing right here, honoring this Black woman. So let me begin the story. I'm Jelly. I'm a griot. I'm here to express the history of our people, to make sure that we know who we are. Because, as the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey said, a people without a knowledge of their history is like a tree without roots. You simply don't know where you came from. You don't know where you are. So you can't possibly know where you're trying to get to. You're just swinging in the breeze. So I'm going to share some of this with you. Okay? To begin, let me just mention, we went to Timbuktu. Our guide, we were sitting at this marvelous restaurant. We heard the beautiful music of the kora, that 21-string instrument. I know you brothers know about it. And we were sitting there, and it was just absolutely heavenly. And our guide says, that music that you're listening to right there, that selection, that was played in the time of Sundiata Keita, over 800 years ago. So that history has been preserved over 800 years. We are not adrift. Brothers and sisters, we just have to make those connections. And they're here for the taking. They've got this thing called internet. It's amazing what you can learn if you just put a moment to it. Okay. So we all know about 1492 Columbus sailed the ocean blue. We learned that if we didn't learn anything else, right? Okay. Well, for nearly 800 years before that, most of us now realize that the Moors, the North Africans, were in Spain, and they were ruling. They were highly regarded because they were ruling. And so they had no problem with acknowledging that Black people did wonderful, productive things. Okay? Well, once Columbus came to this part of the world, they started having stories about how wonderful this part of the world was. And so they went back, they started telling stories of the fabled cities of Cibola. They told stories about the streets being paved with gold. They told all these wonderful stories to encourage other Spaniards to come and help conquer the people who were here, the indigenous people. Okay? The Taino, the Arawak, the Incas, the Aztecs, they were all pretty much wiped out as a result of Columbus. Okay? So, at any rate, they were very excited about this new land. And within less than 20 years, a guy by the name of Montalvo wrote a novel. And the novel is called Las Serjes de Esquandia. Las Serjes, The Adventures of Esquandia. And the Adventures of Esquandia included him finding an island to the west of the Indies, which, they call it Indies because Columbus got confused and thought that he was in India. Okay. And so they talked about this island. It's a novel. Okay. And what he said, and I want to read this to you. Okay. These are words that come directly from this novel. Okay? I apologize. I'm just trying to save a little time.
We have 15 minutes. Yes.
I apologize. Let me go back to somebody. I probably should have read what I wrote instead of trying to shorten it.
Go ahead on, you're doing good.
Thank you. All age has its privileges. Right. Okay. These are the exact words of Esquandia as he encountered this Black woman ruler and the women who were there in this land called California, because a caliph would rule California. And these are his words. Know that on the right hand of the Indies, there is an island called California, very close to the side of the terrestrial paradise. And it is peopled by black women, without any man among them, for they live in the manner of Amazons. And he continued, there were all a strong and hardy bodies of art and courage and much force. Their island was the strongest in all the world, with its steep cliffs and rocky shores. Their armaments were all made of gold, and so was the harness of their wild beasts, the griffins, which they tamed and rode. For in the whole island, there was no metal other than gold. She, Califia, is the reason the state of California was established. When Hernan Cortez came, after he had pretty much wiped out the Aztec civilization, they began to explore to the west of the Indies. And when he got and saw the Pacific Ocean, it reminded him of this novel. He saw what is Baja California, and he thought it was an island. He didn't know it was a peninsula. And so he said, well, this must be the land of Califia. And so he named that island or that peninsula California. And that's where it comes from. This was in like 1535 AD. Okay? And I think I mentioned that Califia and her warrior queens, who were very much like those warrior queens from Wakanda, when they went to war, they had gold spears and they rode griffins when they went to war. Can anybody tell me what a griffin is? Okay. Okay, here's the deal. Not only did they think that the peninsula was an island, but I can show the map, it's in here for the students. For the next 150 years, all of the world maps show California as an island, Baja California, okay? So let me tell you about these griffins, okay? They're mythological creatures, fierce. They had the heads of an eagle, the beak of an eagle, the talons of an eagle, and the body of a lion, fierce. And they had huge wings. They could fly. And so when Califia, apparently from time to time, she had to defend her land, if they had to go to war, they would ride those griffins to war. Okay? And they would have, you can imagine, a flying lion coming at you, huge wings with a fierce beak, fierce claws, okay? And Califia riding on this griffin with her gold spear, taking care of business, okay? Anyway, let me tell you about the griffins, okay? You might wonder, well, you know, they do pretty good work, so what exactly does a griffin eat? Turns out they eat Califia's enemies, okay? So every once in a while, they would have to go to war, and anybody who was, how should we put it, not quite smart, who challenged Califia would end up being the griffin's lunch, okay? Anyway, I have some pictures here for the students that they can color, and I'm going to just show this very briefly. I know most of you absolutely cannot see it, but there is a picture of Califia, and she is riding on that griffin, getting ready to give that griffin his lunch, which will be her enemies. So that's really all I wanted to say to you about this, okay? And so as you're gelling, okay, oh, for the children, if you do decide to draw a picture of a griffin, please don't train it to eat your little brother, okay? Okay? So as you're gelling, as your keeper of the history of African people, we've come to the end of the story of Califia, the Black woman for whom the state of California is named. And some of you have probably seen Whoopi Goldberg in the movie from Disneyland, Golden Dreams. She played the part of Califia. Okay, you can also see Califia in a number of places around the state of California, including up in San Francisco. And so I'm saying to you at this point, Califia also is sometimes called Calafia, which is really irrelevant, okay? But by whatever name, Califia is the Black warrior queen who fascinated the Spaniards over 500 years ago. And they have honored her throughout history as the namesake for the state of California. And so I wish you a happy Black History Month, and this is for our children.
Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Sister Abathy, for that. We're going to have a little change in schedule here due to the time. It's time for Maghrib. So we're going to break for Maghrib. First, no, we have a song. I'm sorry. We have a song first from Brother Hanif Abdul Mu'min.
Then he's going to call the adhan.
Say it again.
And then he'll call the adhan.
And then he'll call the adhan. And then we'll move inside for Maghrib. And then I want everybody, if they can, you know, if you got to go, you got to go. But come back because we have some more entertainment for you, some more history, some more knowledge. We're going to speak about Malcolm X. And there's going to be a live performance from our brother Akil, the MC. And then we'll have closing remarks from Sister Aziz. So please get ready for Salah after this song and then we'll be back. So, Brother Hamid.
Assalamu alaikum.
Bless
the community just with a little song. I wrote the song years ago, about 17 years ago, before Allah's video.
Can't hear you, brother.
You gotta talk in
The name of the song is called Allah is Good. Always have been, always will be, even when we're gone and we're resting in peace. Always have been, always will be, even when we're gone and we're resting in peace. Allah is good. Oh, Allah is good. Yes, indeed. Allah is good. Oh, that's why it's understood. Great things come from those who wait. Lord, guide me so I can stay straight, stay straight. I know you're blessing those who guard their faith. And I'm trying to get it right before it's too late, before it's too late. Thank you, Lord, for blessing us with the glorious morning sun. A picture perfect while the children play and run along now. Bless us with a beautiful day and just enough breeze. Give us what we want, what we deserve, and always what we need. Allah is good. Oh, Allah is good. Always have been, always will be, even when we're gone and we're resting in peace. Always have been, always will be, even when we're gone and we're resting in peace. Take us where we belong. Lord, with the good Allah, I know I'm gonna stay strong, stay strong. Trials and tribulations and my come. I'm so thankful that you gave me love. Allah is good. Oh, Allah is good. Yes, indeed. Don't be blind to the fact of knowing Allah. When signs are revealed and still it seems odd. Brothers and sisters are failing to realize the situation. Living in our last days, we all on probation. Allah, Allah is good. Yes, indeed, Allah is good. Allah is good. Oh, إِذْنَا الصِّرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمَ. It's the reason I'm one was so fly with a dream. And though it seems that they still want to flex, I'm thinking about my brother Malcolm X. Oh, life's good. Oh, Allah is good. Yes, indeed. Shukran.
Yes. Yes.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. هيا على الصلاة. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
Coming right back after Maghrib.
I was gonna make an announcement about the photo booth.
So we're gonna go inside for Salat, and then afterwards we'll come back, and we have just a few more presentations.
And I killed the MC. And
Akil, the MC, still has to perform a couple of stories before then.
yeah, we did.
So inshallah, after Salat, we'll come back.
We did, but
Please take advantage of the photo booth. Get the pictures that will remind you of today, and it's right here inside the doorway to the left.
They leave at 7:30.
They're going to leave at 7:30, so you don't have a lot of time to do this. So on your way out from Salat, go get your picture taken.
You really might get out there and wanna play. Yes. Oh, I was like, no, that's not so. I'm about to say, it looks pretty good. Remember them days? Look. We don't like it.
That was. You want to play catch?
Not Dodie. wanted to try and finish it up, but she asked me to stay and not to do it. So I was trying to do that. Mama, I was going to picture on here the How long is the presentation?
Assalamu alaikum. Everyone, let's start making our way under the tent. Everybody, make your way to the tent. Make your way to the tent. We're about to start right back up, inshallah. Are we ready? We're going to finish this out right. We ready?
Lucky I didn't have a heart attack.
I know, everybody start making your way to the tent. This is the place to be right now. Come to the tent. Come to the tent. Make your way to the tent. We're about to start back up, everybody. Under the tent.
I don't want to take yours.
Okay.
But sound a little lot closer. Let me know when you're ready.
That's what I told her.
I was hoping we don't have any plastic.
I think they had some big ones, but she was saying
Let me go tell everybody.
Now y'all got to turn up the photo booth.
Assalamu alaikum. If you stand in a parking lot and talking to stuff, then you should be inside here because we still have some very special entertainment for you. And before we move on, I would like to announce and acknowledge another of our sponsors, Brother Umar Hakim Day from Encourage. He has a booth over here in the parking lot. I'll tell you a story about Brother Omar is responsible for me being in a film. He recommended me for a project that was being done at AFI called Five, and you can look it up online. It's called The Five, and it's based about the 5 daily prayers that the Muslims do. It was written by a non-Muslim brother about his brother who is incarcerated, who is a Muslim. So it was dedicated to him, and I got a chance to play a Muslim in it. So Allah is great. So please, if you're in the parking lot or you're in the front, come inside, please, so we can continue with the program. And next up, we will have Sister Sadiqa Mu'min, and she will tell us about Nana Asma'u. Sister Sadiqa.
Assalamualaikum. I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit about Nana Asma'u. Nana Asma'u was a scholar, poet, and teacher who systematized the organization of learning and teaching for the benefit of women and children called the Antaru, which means those who have come together. Nana Asma'u bint Sheikh Usman Danfodio was a Muslim woman and educational leader. She was a transformer of the tradition of women learning and teaching Islamic knowledge. This was profound because it was rare for women to be educated Islamically in Hausa land. She was born in 1793 in the Sokoto Caliphate. She grew up at the feet of other renowned scholars, and so was only natural when she herself became one. Her father, Sheikh Usman Danfodio, was the founder of the Sokoto Caliphate and taught his daughters knowledge that rivaled any male scholar, which caused Sheikh Usman to be sort of ridiculed for teaching women in this land at the time. It wasn't a commonplace. Nana Asma'u was a war strategist who assisted her father and brothers in the expansion of the Sokoto Caliphate, similarly to Asma'u bin Abu Bakr, who assisted the Prophet ﷺ as well as her father when they were in the cave with information and food, and etc. She was also a master linguist who spoke several languages. This allowed her to speak and teach beyond her borders, and travel around to spread knowledge. And this was a part of the tradition of the Prophet ﷺ, which involved dispatching Sahaba to spread the message. And in doing so, she revived the sunnah of the Prophet. A group of her students will accompany her to these ta'alim wa ta'alum, which means to teach and be taught, where they would also learn and teach what they knew. We've continued this tradition through the Antaru with Saturday classes every week. Asma'u pursued all these endeavors as a Sufi of the Qadariya Tariqa, but the driving factor in her own life and that of her community was their concern for the Sunnah, the exemplary way of life set forth by the Prophet. With the Sunnah orchestrating the lives of its members, Asma'u's Qadariya community sought to serve through teaching, preaching, and practical work focused on a spiritual life in the world while rejecting materialism. Nana Asma'u passed away as an accomplished woman in 1864, with her legacy being carried on through her literary works, her organization, the Antaru, those more contemporary scholars who continue to write about her and her exploits of the Sokoto Caliphate, such as Dr. Bilal Ware, Ustadha Aisha Prime, and Mustafa Grace, so on and so forth. As a member of the Antaru, I am honored and inspired to be a part of a legacy so profound in the Muslim world, and I strive to be even a quarter of the woman and scholar that our dear Nana Asma'u was. And I'd just like to remind everyone that this isn't just history, the traditions of our great scholars are being continued through reading, writing, teaching, and learning. And for anyone who wants to further their information on the Asma'u, can visit the Yantar website or the Siyasi website, or a good book is The Khalif Sister and One Woman's Jihad.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Sister Sabika, for that. Now, the brother who was going to tell you about Malcolm X had to leave. So I'm going to share a brief story about Malcolm X because he is in part responsible for me being Muslim. For some of you who don't know, my profession is as an actor. And I was doing a play at a place called Inner City Cultural Center, which was at Pico and Vermont in Los Angeles many years ago. And I was playing a character. They didn't say he was a Muslim, but they said he was from the desert and he didn't drink and he was honest and so forth. So I didn't know very much about Islam other than, making sujood, they bow down to pray and that type of thing. I knew about the Middle Eastern Black history. But I didn't have a car at the time, and I was taking the bus up and down Vermont, and I passed the Islamic Center, and I thought it was some type of like traveler's place where you could go and find out about Islam, but I didn't know it was a mosque. So one day I decided, well, let me get off the bus and go in and see if I can get some information about Islam to help me play this character. And they told me it was closed. They told me to come back either Friday or Sunday, and I went back that Sunday for the tafsir. But as I was traveling to my home on the bus, I was reading the autobiography of Malcolm X by Alex Haley. And I was mad about a lot of things in those days. And so I could relate to Malcolm. And when he talked about going to Mecca and so forth, it really touched my heart. And when I went to the mosque, everything I read in the book kind of came to life for me. And that's when I decided, if this much truth is in one verse of the Quran, I have to find out about the rest of it. And I started going to the masjid on Sundays for the tafsir. And when they would go pray, I would just go with them and do what they did. I didn't know what they were doing, but I knew what they were saying, but I knew what they were doing. And alhamdulillah, all these, that was like 40 some years or 50, almost 50 years ago. I thank Allah for saving me at the brink of the pit of the fire and bringing me here. So that's my Malcolm X story. Now, as they say, we always save the best for last. All right? And while he's not the very last person you're going to hear from, he's the last person who's going to come up here and share his talents with you. And so we have Brother Akil, the MC, who was a member of the Jurassic 5, and I'm sure you've all heard of them. LA's own rap group. So he's been patiently here, waiting to share his talents with you. So without further ado, Brother Akil, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Lay it on us, brother.
Alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum. It feels beautiful being in front of the believers and stuff. So thank you everybody for staying and not going home. And I would like to have some more kids to come in here. All the kids in the house. Come to the front. I need y'all energy. I need some of that youth energy. Okay, all right. Alhamdulillah. I became a Muslim in Los Angeles in 1987 by way of hip hop. So,
Donald back here?
Yeah, Donald back here. That was my teacher. And I went to Manual Arts High School and stuff. So, but hip hop was my introduction into Islam. So for me, I'm not running away from hip hop and saying, oh, well, music is haram, and, haram means like not permissible and stuff, I think that's the tradition of what we're doing right now, Black History Month and stuff. So I think in the tradition of our African forefathers that were griots and, spoke, spoken language and revealed stories and, I think this is in the tradition. Hey, what's up? What's up, man? All right. That's what I'm talking about. Come here. Hey, come here. I got something for you. Hold on. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here.
They gonna get shot.
They say old people and young people have the shortest attention span, so I'm trying to get to it in a minute. One second. Hold on. So I got some instructions for everybody. Can everybody put their hands up? Hold both hands up. Both hands up. I got some instructions for y'all. Check this out. Hold on.
Stand up tall with your arms outstretched in front of you and open and close your fingers with the music. Ready? Open, close. 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 Now relax a minute and stretch out your hand.
All right, now get it back up again. One more time. Get it back up. Get it up. Get it up.
Open, close. 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 Open, close.
Yeah, I think y'all ready. Yeah, come on. Yeah, come on. Yeah, yeah. We're gonna do this in the hip hop way. Check this out. Everybody, yo. Hey, ho, hey, ho, hey, ho, hey, ho. Yo, it goes one for the money, two for the show, three to get it right, four to get it cracking, five to let it go, six for the mix, seven for the lesson, eight for the bass, nine for the rhyme, 10 years ago. One for the money, two for the show, three to get it right, four to get it cracking, five to let it go, six for the mix, seven for the lesson, eight for the bass, nine for the rhyme, 10 years ago. One for the money, two for the show. If you like what you hear, let me hear you say, oh! Yeah, and you don't stop. Yo, we stay active, heated like a blacksmith. You think you heard it all, but you ain't heard the half of it. I'm from a group by the name of Jurassic. We stay on tour, net line of main attraction. Smash for the cash, 100-yard dash. Make them smash, look up with the jab. By that blow, baby, work that. Hit the block and don't stop out the drunk hip hop. Still hot without the radio spot. Have you forgotten why we rockin'? Been hip hoppin'. Way before the radio was even ever jogging, so it's all not stopping. 24 said, 365 high heel to the head. Break red application on the sideline waiting. Other brothers sitting, I'm just here to make a statement. I ain't trying to be the greatest, cause it's really overrated. I ain't trying to catch a slug just to be somebody's favorite. One for the money, two for the show, three to get it right, four to get it cracking, five to let it go. Six for the mix, seven for the lesson, eight for the bass, nine for the rhyme, 10 years ago. One for the money, two for the show, three to get it right, four to get it cracking, five to let it go. Six for the mix, seven for the lesson, eight for the bass, nine for the rhyme, 10 years ago. Yeah. Turn this up a little bit. Yeah. All right, I need y'all participation. Yo, now just pump your fists like this. Just pump your fists like this. Come on, just pump your fists like this. Just pump your fists like this. Yo, you gotta hold on to this feeling. And what we want, y'all, freedom. And what we need, freedom. That's right. Yo, you gotta hold on to this feeling. And what we want, y'all. And what we need, yo, I love my country without fear my government. Can't mess with satanic secret services. Working this, merciless, multi-purpose. Seize your soul and search this. What mean the world to me is being free. Living, let live, and just let it be, let it be. Love, peace, and unity with universal family. One God, one aim, and one destiny. My forefathers hungry, pleased to be free. Got rid of slavery, but still kept the penitentiary. And now freedom got a shotgun and shells with your name. Release the hot ones, yo, and let yo breathe on to this feeling. And what we want, y'all, and what we need, you gotta say it like you mean it. Hold on to this feeling. And what we want, y'all, and what we need, Criminals inside of America, steering the beat down in Hollywood, Princeton, America. You had other the predator, moving your messenger, terrorists inside of America. Forever trying to be clever, extreme to the measure. Full court pressure, malicious, mind testers, aggressive, stand testers. Send of my ancestors from they found it free, now we lost in America's criminal, hostile, environmental weather. A climate and a lining of the world of vendetta. But the Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. But I broke hide on my left, I got to come up so you lay in the cut. Ain't all for me the things that will make me come up, but have it morally messed up. Survival with the inside right, make me liable with most of my thoughts. Suicidal, so hold on to this feeling. And what we won't jump, and what we need. You gotta say it like you mean it. Hold on to this feeling. And what we won't jump, and what we need. Yo, you gotta hold on, cause it's not a lot of time. Your heart, body, soul, and your mind. This feeling we be hurting so long. It's the reason why we named this song. You gotta hold on time. Your heart, body, soul, and your mind. This feeling we've been hurting so long. It's the reason why we named this song Freedom. Hold your fist up right now. That's what we need, freedom. Because freedom is golden. So we're gonna have a little golden shine right now. Yeah, we're gonna go out on this last one and stuff, but I know we got somebody else to go down. Yeah, it's like that, y'all, and you don't stop. A party people in the place rock on. It's like that, y'all, and you don't stop. Check it out, y'all. Check it out, y'all. Yo, I'm still the same with a little fame, a little change in the household name, but ain't too much change. We in the game, yo, but not to be vain. Refrain from soft cream to season up my name. Entertain for a mutual gain and close range. Steady aim, I drum at your head to hit your brain. I'm laboring and roll scholar for the dollar. Work for mines, pay me by the hour. It's the J-U-R-A. Capital S, another S-I-C. 5 MCs in the flesh. Now we get ready, hit the deck. Cause we'll pop the drum, cause the table doesn't sit. I'm from the crew. Guess who? The J-U-R-A. Double S-I-C. Where we in the place to be. It don't stop, we got the rhythm that makes your finger pop. Cause we are no superstars who wanna be large and forget who we are. Don't judge us by bank accounts and big cars. No matter how bright we shine, we're far from being stars. The stars fall and disintegrate before they hit the asphalt. They incinerate cause we cannot to destroy the law but to fulfill. For those who appreciate those who skills, we not balling, a shot calling. We take it back to the days against y'all. Hey, we're holding on to what's golden. And on the stage I rage and I'm rolling. We not balling, a shot calling. We take it back to the days against y'all. Hey, we're holding on to what's golden. And on the stage I rage and I'm rolling. Thank y'all, that was good. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. This is beautiful. I feel good to be performing in LA. And I even feel better to be performing in front of my Muslim brothers and sisters here in Los Angeles, where I came up and took my shahada. Thank y'all very much. This is beautiful. Thank y'all to my crew right here, my little youngster crew and stuff. Alhamdulillah. Allahu Akbar. I'll turn it back over to you, mashallah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Did I tell you say the best for the last? Huh? Don't believe me, just watch. But now we're gonna turn it over to the head of the crew. You know, the sisters. Let's give the sisters a hand. You know, if it wasn't for them, we'd probably been gone home a long time ago. If they let it to your brothers, it would have been short, sweet, and out of sight. You know, it would have been gone. But we thank our sisters for sharing with us, sharing their talents and their abilities, and putting in the time and the work to get us something of quality. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So with that, we're going to have closing remarks, and then don't forget, there's food. There's food. You should have a food ticket. There's going to be food, so you don't have to run off either. But again, we're going to have closing remarks from Sister Aziza Ali, And I would like to thank all the sisters that helped me get this together. Thank you so much, and it was my pleasure to be your MC today. I hope I didn't disappoint you. You know, this is my home here. I'm always happy to come home. I'm always overjoyed when I can come to this and the love and just the beauty of what goes on here. So, Sister Aziza, we are on.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you guys for coming out. A couple of acknowledgments before we get started. Today is Mama Ali's birthday. We want to say, may Allah continue to bless you. Today is 90 what? How many years? 97. Oh my God. May Allah bless you and continue to bless you. 93. 93? Alhamdulillah. Thank you for coming out. I know she doesn't come out much. Thank you, Sister Khadijah, for bringing her out. And for everybody who stayed to the end. I want to thank Muslim Art. Can we have Sister Marjorie come up as one of our sponsors? I want to thank Sister Atra. Thank you so much. Can you please come up? It was a whole team effort. I want to thank Sister Renee Mustafa. Please come up. If she's still, I know she's still here. Sister Renee? Yes, she's still here. Sister Garland? Yes. Safir? Please come up. My mom, Sister Ann, who was not here, was also part of the planning team. But I really want to give thanks to Sister Suad Mansour, who really, this was her vision. And from beginning to end, she really saw this through. And this was an amazing event because of her efforts. So thank you so much. Everybody. We have one guy who really helped too, Brother Umar Hakim. Thank you. Renee, we need you up here. Sister Renee. Sister Samiha, come on. And her husband, Dr. Rasul. They are our resident consultants on everything Africana, Black history. Is there any? Oh, Sister Naj, who is going. Sister, I'm gonna get to that. That's a surprise. And then her husband, Dr. Rasul, as well. Anybody else? Thank these ladies because whenever you see anything as grand as this, there was a lot of effort that went into this. So thank them. Thank you very much for your efforts.
Thank you. You guys can get together and take a little picture.
And we have one last surprise for you. Who I want to thank two more people, but I want to before we'll take a picture.
All right. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Right here. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Woo! All right, everyone do something funny, guys. 1, 2, 3. Nothing funny? Okay, that's fine.
And last but not least, we have a video presentation that honors our elders. And I want to thank Sister Naj, who is probably should be our community griot because she holds all the stories, the pictures, the memories of all things Muslim in Los Angeles, California, who supplied me with most of the pictures. So thank you, Sister Naj. And I want to thank my daughter, Nura, who just had a baby 12 weeks ago, but was able to finish this video for us.
and she was editing while she was nursing. So Nora, thank you. She's come up here, come. Nora, Agma Media, shout out. Thank you so much, Nora.
Take your love.
So I know that the video, I asked people to send in pictures of any of our elders who were instrumental in this community, any of our elders who had passed, any of our elders who are still here. There are a lot of people who did not make this video. This video is a work in progress. We will add to it every year. So please enjoy it. Make dua for these people who paved the way when it wasn't so easy to wear hijab, when it wasn't so easy to practice Islam in America. So please enjoy.
Thank you.
Can't lie, I find it hard to smile. And I just wanna make my whole family proud. Of being black in American now is just ridiculous. Follow me as I show.
It's playing. Go back. The sound.
There we go.
Thank you all so much.
Nice.
Did you all recognize some people?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Look at that. So we want to definitely, for those who have passed on, I mean, these were pillars in the community. So we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the grave spacious.
Ameen.
We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to allow us to recite their names in our supplications.
Ameen.
We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep them surrounded by their good deeds. And we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow their experience before the judgment to be moments of comfort. Make their grave comfortable. And definitely we want to definitely recite Al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. الحمد لله. Did you all enjoy that? Before we leave, if there's a small little trash that you see, even if there's a big piece of trash that you see, let's all pick it up, and then it's less work for our cleanup crew to do. Oh yeah, we're gonna fold chairs. It's gonna be cool for us. We're gonna fold the chairs, inshallah. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you all for coming out. And you all stay safe. May Allah protect all of you all. May Allah keep us united like this. See you all next year. This is our tradition. Next year, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.